anybody else elementary ed? Oh, wonderful. We have a lot of teachers in the room. So my twin sister, Tracy, graduated with me, of course. We were roommates and all the fun things. Her son and my son are freshmen this year. And so it's so special to have them both on campus and kind of look at college through their eyes. It's just really special. So I'm really grateful to have them on campus. And my son was even cleaning his room the other day. So I love that. So this is I thought I'd just share some of the highlights. I tried to put pictures in that I thought you might be interested in. We just finished the upgrade and extra space at our Fort Wayne campus. That's the picture there. That's kind of when it was still under construction, but $17 million addition on to that campus. We've been working really hard. A strategic plan was developed before I started, but we made sure that we have that front and center for everybody. So one of the big things that I really push is that we're all working together in the same direction on the same things. So that strategic plan helps us do that. We've worked really hard on our culture. Before I came, things were a little bit, I think people were tired and we had just gotten through COVID. One of the things that has brought us really closely together is our initiative to do some campus work days. Maybe you heard about them over here, but we stopped all of our operations for 2 days last year in the spring and then right before students moved in. And we spent the whole day just working on campus, whether we had some people scraping and repainting light poles. I cleaned air conditioner vents for 8 hours one day. We did all kinds of things. We weeded flower beds. The reality for us is we cannot hire enough custodial staff and maintenance staff. We can't find them. And so they were getting more and more behind. So we all just pitched in. We did, I think it was, 2 years worth of work for one person in 2 days. All of us together. But the best thing was I encourage people, sign up to work with somebody that you don't normally work with. And so I worked with all kinds of different people. I painted in East Street apartments for the second day. My husband and I did. And I'm not a great painter, but we got it done. So we did all kinds of things. But it was one of the best things we did for our culture is just working side by side, doing things that we normally don't do. We have a great picture of Megan Sarber. She's our alumni director. Maybe some of you know her. It's one of my favorite pictures from the day. She's painting the curbs bright yellow again. So maybe I can show you that picture. I think actually I put it in here. If you haven't heard, this will be a big impact for all of you. We received a $12.1 million CCC grant from the Lilly Endowment. And the whole point of it was to attract more people to live and work and attend Manchester University. And so it's in conjunction with the town of North Manchester. So we have a couple different projects. The Eel River Commons. So we'll have kind of behind, if you think of where Mainview used to be, I hear it's closed down again, but where Mainview on the main street behind that is a park. They're going to upgrade the park. We're going to have an amphitheater so we can have musical talent. We're going to work with the Honeywell Foundation on that as well. That's one piece. So we'll upgrade that park. And then between downtown and the university, we're going to build out, I call it a yellow brick road. I think that's dramatic. I think it's going to be more like a very intentional pathway. So it's 1 mile between the two. A very intentional pathway between downtown and the university so that we encourage people to go to and from, whether you're a resident in North Manchester and you come to the university or our students going downtown. So it'll be a real intentional, we're going to have some cultural things along the way, but I'm really excited about that. And then we're going to have some more housing townhomes that look a lot like, if you can picture it, do you remember all the houses across from the administration building way back in the day when I was a student? The townhomes kind of look like those houses did way back in the day, but there'll be some townhomes to encourage more people to live and work in the area and work at Manchester or Manchester Community Schools, but they'll have housing right there. And then on the Manchester University campus, we have a little bit more money to raise, but we will get to upgrade the Winger building, which I am so excited about because I think that building was old when I was a student, and now we'll be able to upgrade it finally. And then we'll also get to do some upgrades to Cordier Auditorium. So we're excited about that. Let's see, did I get all the parts? I think so. So that money, it was we had to come up with 70% of the money in order to do the projects. So it was a big lift for the town and for the university. What I like best about it, it's a partnership. And someone asked me, do you get along okay with the town? We do. It's a wonderful relationship, in fact. And honestly, as Manchester goes up, Manchester University goes up, so does the town of North Manchester. And as North Manchester rises up, so does Manchester University. So it's a great partnership for us. I've been busy meeting alumni all over the country. I think last year at this time, I don't even know how many states I've been in, but about a week a month, I go out on the road and meet with our alumni. In fact, I've met so many incredible alumni. At my opening convo this year, I talked about our incredible alumni that I've gotten to meet. It's sometimes surreal to me to think about, and all of you are included in this, what our alumni have done. Manchester produces amazing graduates, and they are doing really incredible things. So just getting to, I sometimes say, I wish I could have a camera on my shoulder when I meet all these people so that the prospective students can see what you can do with a Manchester college or university degree. We also established what I call expanded cabinet. So there's a small group of us that meet for about 3 or 4 hours every week. But we have a bigger group, so almost all of our directors meet together and just share with what we're doing so that the right hand knows what the left hand's doing all the time. So we've done that. And we also had some diversity, equity, and inclusion goals that were kind of not moving as fast as we wanted them to. So we created really what we call SMART goals. So they're very realistic, they're measurable, and we've gotten that done. So we now have a barber shop on campus. So some of our students of color could not find a place in North Manchester to get their hair cut. We now have a place, and we'll bring in a barber once a month to have their hair cut if they'd like. What I understand is students use that barber shop area in the intercultural center to actually cut each other's hair, which I think is lovely. But we did a few other things to really encourage more diversity on campus. Our biggest diversity issue right now is actually first-generation students. That's amazing to me that in this day and age, we still have such a high number of first-gen students. So first-generation students are students whose parents never went to college. So this incoming class, it was almost 50%. Isn't that incredible? In this day and age, of all of our student body, it's about 26%. I shouldn't say about because I'm being pretty exact. 26% of our freshmen, or all of our students are first gen, and then 50% of our incoming class are first gen. I just think that's incredible, but what a great thing. I think Manchester does a really good job of bringing people in who are first generation because we are small enough to really sit down and talk to families and make sure that we don't put barriers in their way. I think that's why we get so many first gen. So I'm really proud of that. I think some of you know my story, but when Tracy and I were the first people in our family to go to college on both sides. It's a little weird because my mom was finishing college about the same time we were going to college. So all of the traits of a first-gen student we had, because my mom was just finishing up. She's now a nurse practitioner, so she's done other things, but we have all of those traits. So I remember to this day filling out the check and applying for Manchester. And honestly, I don't think my parents even came with me to orientation. I don't think that they did that. My dad worked in a factory my whole life. So I definitely identify with our first gen students and all the things that they have to think about. I'm grateful my son doesn't have to be a first gen student, but it makes me really think about how even some of the acronyms, and if you think about it, do you remember on our college schedules, when your classes are listed and you might have a class on, it will say MWF, so it meant Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? We remember that? Think about how we list Tuesday and Thursday classes. We put a T for Tuesday and an R for Thursday. Well, if you're first gen, you don't know what that means. So little things like that, we really have to break down those barriers. Okay, what else can I tell you about? So these are things that we're working on this year. In fact, don't tell our board, but a lot of this is in their presentation for Friday. Don't tell them. But we're continuing to make sure that we have every person on campus working towards our goals. I'm still trying to flatten our organizational structure. I feel like we're really tall. And frankly, we're just too small to be that tall. So we're trying to flatten. I want to be connected to as many people. I don't want very many levels between me and everybody else. I don't like too many levels. So we're continuing to flatten. We have a brand new vice president of strategic initiatives and corporate partnerships, and his whole goal is to go out and get partners. So one of our partners is Ivy Tech. We're really trying to engage with them, and 10% of the students in Indiana are going through Ivy Tech, and we know that they retain at 81%. So if they make it through Ivy Tech, we want them to come to Manchester after that. So we're working on that. So that will be one of his jobs. Remember I said we have a little bit more money to raise for Winger, so we're working on that. I'm really proud of this. We almost have the money for the chapel roof done. So yes, I'm very excited about that. It needs a new roof really bad. I think we're starting to get bids for it. We have some more DEI goals, and we're really focused on accountability. If we say we're going to do something, we need to make sure that we do it. And I mentioned the campus service days, which were one of my favorite things, honestly. I just loved it. Next year, we're going to include students in our campus service days. Service is part of our values, so it lines up with what we do. We have 4 plus 1, big enrollment goals. We're going to lean into the adult market. Manchester's never been in the adult market before, but there's a lot of people, even in this county, who never went to college. And why not Manchester? It's special to have a university in your backyard. We should make sure we're taking advantage of that. We're also asking our high schools to work with us so that we put students on a trajectory to Manchester. So even as high school juniors and seniors, they'll start taking Manchester classes, and then they'll just kind of be right on our pathway to continue on with us. Here's something really exciting. We have made room in the schedule so that all of our students have the opportunity to do hands-on learning. So think internships, maybe work for some of our local nonprofits. In fact, we even have endowed money to help pay for students to do internships at nonprofits that don't have the money to do that. In fact, one of our classes last year, I cannot remember the name of the nonprofit, but they redid all of their marketing, all of their branding, their new logo, their website, all of that. One of our business classes did that for them. And they came to us and said, we would not have had the money for this. Our students did it all. Isn't that great? And then they have something to show on their resume. Our goal with this is twofold. One, that students get that hands-on learning that they want. This generation really wants that. They have the opportunity to earn money while they learn. A typical student at Manchester owes $7,460. So we're trying to figure out ways that they can earn that money while they're a student. And then the third piece is when they graduate, they will have a really great resume to sit next to somebody who didn't have all those great experiences. So they'll have a Manchester University degree and a super strong resume. I think Manchester students are going to be at the top of every pile when they go out to apply for jobs because of this. In fact, I was at a College of Business meet. They had for those of us anybody from the College of Business and Accounting, Finance, Econ degrees, they had a College of Business meeting today, and the speaker talked about those kind of experiences and how that would have given her a leg up had she had some more of those experiences. So we're going to make sure our students have them. We're also focused on our pathway between our undergrad programs and our graduate programs. The faculty in Fort Wayne say that our students do better than students from other schools. So we want more of them to be going over. So you think of all of our pre-med, pre-vet, pre-health, all of that. We want more of them to be going to our Fort Wayne programs. Our exercise science program has 200 plus students in the undergrad side. We have a Master of Athletic Training and a Doctor of Physical Therapy program that we want them to be going into. So we have 200 students in the program. I figure about 50 graduating a year. We need to have at least half of them choosing our programs. So we're giving them a discount, and the faculty in Fort Wayne are coming over to North Manchester so they get to know the students. So hopefully by the time that they graduate from their undergrad program, they know all of those faculty from Fort Wayne, and so that they'll start going to our Fort Wayne campus. And then we are really trying to lean into as many graduate programs as we can. Students are coming in with all these early college credits that they got from other places. So we want to keep them as long as we can. So we have a new Master of Business Administration program. It has 43 students in its inaugural year, 43, just from our alumni. So I think of all of the students that Professor Gilbert and Hirschberger and all of you graduated. They are alumni, and they're coming back to do an MBA with Manchester, which is terrific. So we're working on that. I thought this is a graphic we're using for the board meeting next week. We were up almost 20% this year for our undergrad students. 20% more students. Isn't that terrific? I can read them to you because I think my slide might be a little bit small. Business management, nursing, sport management, biochem, which is all the pre-med, pre-vet, pre-dentistry programs, and psychology were the top 5 majors for those students. We had students, most of our students are still coming from Indiana. 289 of the 365 are from Indiana. And then we had a handful kind of scattered. We had 10 from Florida. A lot of our football team, they were recruiting in Florida, which explains the number 10 there. We had some students from Arizona and Ohio, Texas, and Michigan. Those were our top places that we got students from. But 83% of our students come from Indiana. And 63% of those come from northern Indiana. So we are very regional. That was one of my biggest surprises coming back to Manchester. I did not realize how regional that we are, which I just love. That means people from this community are picking Manchester. I said 42% of the students are first gen. Average GPA is 3.41, and we have a large number of students that participate in our athletic program. So of this class, 64% of our incoming class are participating in athletics. It's really incredible. We have one of our largest honors programs ever. So we just had a dinner for them at Tall Oaks. It was like standing room only. My husband ended up not being able to eat with us. We had so many people. Yeah, it was crazy. 43 students of this incoming class participate in music or marching band or an ensemble, and 38 students are participating in esports. Just incredible. It's about, we're about evenly split with men and women. So, and then this is our Fort Wayne students. So a little bit more diversity here. We have, you can see by program pharmacy, we have 46 brand new students. Doctor of Physical Therapy, which is our newest program, has 26 students. The ABSN, just as a reminder, is, so we have 18-year-olds coming to our traditional nursing program, just like any other undergraduate program, but we have the ABSN, which is our accelerated nursing program. So maybe you got a degree in chemistry or biology or accounting, and you decide, I think I want to be a nurse. Within 16 months, we can turn you into a nurse, and that's what that program is. You have a bachelor's degree in something else, and then this is an accelerated way to get to a nursing degree. We also have our pharmacogenomics and our nutrition program that brought in some students, and also Master of Athletic Training. You can see that our oldest student is 53 and our youngest is 18. Average age 35 and a half years old. Most of our students coming from Indiana, but we also have Ohio, Florida, New York also represented. Manchester University represents the largest school that we're getting students from, but we're also getting students from St. Francis and Trine, Purdue, and Ohio Northern University. So again, you can see lots of diversity. We have 70% of our students are Caucasian, but a lot more diversity at Fort Wayne campus, including 15% African American, 10% Asian, and 2% Hispanic. So lots of exciting things there. Here's the picture of Megan Starbird. Isn't that a beautiful picture? I love that. But you can see these are kind of our enrollment and marketing initiatives. We're doing a lot of grassroots stuff. We're going to have a new website. We're going to talk about healthcare and our high demand skills. So what we've asked our faculty to do for all of our core curriculum, our gen ed curriculum, we've asked them to tie them to high demand skills. So for example, intro to philosophy. We might say, when you take this intro to philosophy, because we have students and parents say, why do I have to take intro to philosophy? I'm a business major. So what we explain to them is you take that because it's problem solving and critical thinking skills. So we've asked everybody in the core curriculum to tie it to something that all of the employers say is a high demand skill, so we can better explain to people why you're taking this class. So it's kind of just a marketing thing. Nothing's changed in the class. We just explain why you take it. Our Vice President of Student Life gave us this slide. This is kind of fun. So this is overall, I talked about our first class coming in, this incoming freshman first year class. This is our students, all of our students together. So 460 of our about 950 students are in athletics. We've got 85 people engaged in professional organizations. We've got 67 musicians. We've got 65% of our students are participating in a team or an ensemble, so something extracurricular. And by the way, we love when they're engaged in things like this because it makes them stick better. So you may be in your accounting or your social work classes or whatever, but sometimes the thing that makes you be retained at Manchester are these things, these extra things. So for example, my nephew, he's a soccer player, so he had to come, I think, a week and a half before all of the other first year students came. But by the time the other students came, he was good buddies with all the soccer players, right? So he already had a group that he identified with. And we like that for students because it makes them stick differently than a student who maybe isn't connected to something. So we want them to be connected. I love this 4,000 hours of service. Isn't that great? We have, let's see, 4 conference championships. So lots of great things here. Here's when I cleaned the air conditioners for 8 hours. I think that was actually towards the end of the 8 hours. I stood in a shower stall at East Hall for 8 hours. I was dirty and gross. But Gary Beck, does anybody know Gary Beck? He's been there forever and ever and ever. I love Gary. We put all of the maintenance and facility and custodial people in charge of us for the day. They told us what to do. He owned that. He liked that, I think. I love Gary. We had a bat in Tall Oaks last year, the president's residence. We had a bat flying around. Gary and I spent an hour together, crawling on our hands and knees looking for the bat. He's a great guy. Okay, did any of you hear about all the hubbub about the FAFSA stuff? Yes, oh my goodness. So remember, just as a reminder, so typically it comes out in October. This is a federal government thing. It was not a Manchester thing. It took them, what was it, March, I think. We still were packaging or starting to package students that we typically would have done in October. They've already told us this year it's not going to be ready until December. I will tell you, I mean, we obviously handled it correctly because, and I can't take credit, we had a wonderful marketing team that was doing this. We were able to, though, obviously, almost a 20% increase in undergrad enrollment. So we navigated the FAFSA fiasco really well. Some schools did not. So the fact that we maintained and were up was pretty impressive. We did a compensation study on campus. So we evaluated where all of our people were compared to other schools similar to us. The cabinet and I did, I think Professor Gilbert would have been proud of me. We did a budget deep dive. So we spent 5 days, all of cabinet, and we went line by line through the budget. It was painful, but it was good. We also got done the expansion at Fort Wayne, and Garver got a much needed upgrade to their showers. Yes. I asked my son the other day, how are the showers? He probably thinks I'm crazy, but it was $500,000 in showers upgrade to Garver. So I hope he thinks they're terrific. He probably, yeah. So I walked out on the mall 2 weeks ago, I think. If you follow my social media, I posted this. This is our first class or our first group of women wrestlers. Look how many there are. I think it was my most popular post I've ever done on social media. We had like the Women's Wrestling Association that shared it out. But look at this group of ladies who are breaking down all kinds of barriers. I love that. But we continue to improve our budget process. Every month we go, we call each other, we keep each other accountable. Every department, including mine, we go through in cabinet and we ask each other questions like, why are you over? And what's happening? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's painful, but it's good. It's good. We have had to basically rebuild our human resource department. We lost a lot of people in the area, so, like someone had a baby. It was a lot of things. And then we continue to navigate FAFSA and federal regulations. So one of them is if our employees are under a certain pay threshold, they have to go to hourly. The federal government is forcing us to do this, which employees don't like, but it really is to protect them because they wouldn't want us taking advantage of them under a certain dollar amount. There were two of these. There was one, it was around $44,000. If you made less than that, we had to put you hourly. And there's the next level of this comes out in January unless the courts get involved, and that's at $56,000. So that's been interesting to navigate because although it's to protect employees, employees do not like it. So that's been really painful. And again, not a Manchester thing, it's a national thing. You can see our nursing program continues. I talked about our MBA program, our Doctor of Physical Therapy. I know music has been a thing at Manchester. One of the things we've discovered is we just don't have a lot of people majoring in music. What they're doing with music is all the other things. They're participating in marching band, they're doing the choir, they're participating in the Manchester Symphony Orchestra. So what we've done is we're going to change up the majors. We're going to have a minor and a certificate because, again, our data shows one, but the faculty member says there are two. And all of the different kinds of music majors we have right in this moment, we had two people, one or two. My data shows one, his showed two. In all, I think it's like 5 or 6 majors. We just can't do it. It's not cost effective. But what we can do is all the things people are involved in. So all of the choirs will stay, the marching band stays, all of the other things will continue. But that's one change we're making. Just because literally there are no students for those classes. So we're making that change. But all of the other things stay the same. And it's kind of like my nephew is not majoring in soccer. He's participating in soccer, right? That's kind of what's happening with music. People are participating with music, but they're not majoring in music, if that makes sense. So we're making that change. I think I've told you that we're more transfer friendly. We worked on that last year. We have also, I talked about our core to line up with high demand skills. If you haven't heard, for all of the educators in the room, there's something new in Indiana, the Science of Reading. We received a $500,000 grant for the Science of Reading this year. And if you go upstairs in the Thunderbird Library, there's a space for little people. For all of our little friends around, I see them, they're like from the local preschool. They come in. And from all of the elementary schools, if there's a student struggling with reading, they can come to Manchester and our students are going to work with them and help them learn how to read better. So come to Thunderbird Library, go to the second floor, and you'll see an amazing space for little kids. Here's another thing, the Higher Learning Commission. is changing. So right now, all of us got a bachelor's degree with 120 hours, probably. I'm thinking most of us did. I don't think that rule's changed in a long time. But the Higher Learning Commission is saying now they may change that to 90 credits. So we are trying to investigate that and see how Manchester can fit into that. My suspicion is that's happening with or without us, so let's be part of it, right? It's going to happen whether we want it to or not, because it's happening at the national level. Let's see. I think I've talked about a lot of these things. We're asking to be part of the Indiana Core Transfer Library. So that means students from all over can transfer between schools. So we want to make sure that we can do that with them. I've talked about these other things. I don't know. I don't even know what time. Is it? Oh, it's 7:05. So now I can answer questions for people.
Yes. So I want to give you a chance to ask questions. I will bring the mic to you. And I do ask that you ask only one so that other people have an opportunity.
Like, what if nobody asks questions? That could be problematic too. Oh, here we go. Oh, we'll get you next, I'm sure.
Thank you, Jan. You made reference to a connection between the town and the university. I happened to be in a meeting just this past week with some businessmen, and they mentioned there was students that they had really not had many students from the, I call it college, come to their stores, but this year they're having students come to their stores. So they can only assume that, meaning you, the university, haven't done something special to encourage them to come. So I just wanted to give you that feedback.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. We definitely want that. If we help North Manchester helps us. It just happens. It's a really natural partnership. So we want more of that. Thank you for telling me. Oh, go ahead. And then do you still have a question? Okay.
Have you ever considered the possibility of asking people from Timbercrest to help you in your day's work?
I would love it. If you're interested, we'll let you know. There's one in May and there's one in August.
I just got a dirty look from a few
people. Yeah, you did. I saw the dirty look.
But there are small things that can be done that many of the people on here could be helpful with if they wanted to.
I would love it. And I think even just if you manned a snack table for us, that we could, if we had a snack table in some of the buildings, we could pop in and say hello and you could hand out snacks to us.
Or we could eat too.
You could eat snacks. And you could have lunch with us. That was another part of the day. We all got to sit and have lunch together, which was beautiful. Yeah.
Did we have someone over here?
Oh, this gentleman, I think, she had a question.
Could you explain more when you mentioned 7,406? What's that number? It was dollars. Is that what they graduate owing or what?
No, I wish that was all they owed.
I know.
Per year on their bill, the average student owes $7,000, just a little bit more than, like almost $7,500. So, I mean, back when I was in school, I took out a loan for that.
Yeah.
And I am grateful that I did. I think it was a good investment. But students today are hesitant to take out the loan. So they will say, oh, I can't afford that. I'm not going to do it. So part of this experiential learning when they go out in the community and do these kind of internships is that they can earn money while they're learning so that they can pay at least part of that. I figured it out. If we have students making $15 an hour, working 15 hours a week for 32 weeks, which is kind of the two major semesters without Jan term, they can earn $7,200. So we would get them really close. And that's without summer work. So I also think about our athletes. If you're in season, it may be tough to work 15 hours a week, but maybe you work in the summer plus maybe earn $5,000. At least we give them a fighting chance to pay off that $7,000. But we know students are saying no. Even I have a friend whose son was going to be a junior, and he was going to say no to coming back to Manchester because he couldn't afford the bill. So we found him some money, and I set him up with some of these experiences to help pay for it. But it's scary, right at the end of the, between like mid-August, end of August, we lost like 6 students, I think, just in those couple of weeks because they couldn't afford it. So we're really trying to give them opportunities to earn the money. Of course, we want to give them as many scholarships as we can, but we don't have all of that. So with the average student owing that, we need to figure out other ways for them to be able to do it. So that's a great question. Thank you.
So my question is the organization or business paying the $15?
Yes. So here's my evil genius part of my plan that I sometimes tell people. My goal is that, let's say they work at Ford Meter Box in Wabash for their internship and they earn this money. Hopefully they'll do a great job and they offer them a position, and then they stay in this area and raise their family here, helping with our population decline, that we increase the population of this community because of this work. So I was talking to an economic development group out of Fort Wayne the other day, and I was telling them this, and they're like, I mean, it's a long game. It's going to take us a couple years to do this. And obviously, a 22-year-old graduating is probably not going to have a family for a couple of years. But my goal is that we start to rebuild the population in Wabash County with this work. We recognize that some nonprofits may not have the money to pay $7,000, but we have some endowed lines that help pay for internships. So we're hoping to use some of that. So maybe the nonprofit can afford $2,000. We could help pay the rest of it. So that's my goal. And hopefully they stay here and raise their family here. It's my big audacious goal. Also, my second big audacious goal is to get student teachers paid when they're doing their student teaching. Everybody I can tell I say that to, and it cannot be on the backs of the K through 12 institutions. It has to be separate money. So I'm working on this at the state and everywhere. And I recognize that if I can help Manchester students get paid during student teaching, I'm probably helping the rest of the state. I think it would also help feed get more students in the education field. So that's I have 2 big audacious goals. Those are the 2.
I'll get up here where I can see you.
This gentleman says that.
How satisfactory has been the first-time students that we're bringing in from the South? Are they continuing? Are they dropping out after the first year? Are they continuing their education?
You're a smart man. Very smart. They're struggling. And so we're evaluating that. And, for some of our scholarship dollars, we're going to back off a little bit and refocus those dollars on kind of our middle class. Our students, my little sister's a teacher and her husband's a teacher. So they're both teachers. They probably make, under $150,000 a year. They're my group, right? In my mind, that's a group of people who we're trying to help because they're too poor to write the check for Manchester and they're too rich to qualify for a lot of aid. That's the group we're trying to help. So yes, those students are not from Florida and Arizona, have not retained at the same level. And so we're going to really think about how we're using our dollars to attract them.
Are they not continuing because of academics or because of finance?
Mixed bag. Definitely mixed. And we lost one because he was homesick. I don't think this is crazy to think about, but they sometimes coming from a big city, if you live in Phoenix with over 1 million people and you come to North Manchester with a town size of 5,000, it's like culture shock, and it doesn't work for everybody. Some people really engage and love that. Others struggle with that. And I think, I do think that this generation of students, again, I have my own kids in this generation. I think with COVID and the student mental health stuff, I just wonder if sometimes being that far away from home isn't great for them. I like to give my babies hugs frequently and often. And I'm not sure if you're that far away from home, you can do that all the time. So, and you also have to remember, The first year students this year were 8th graders when COVID hit. Last year's class were freshmen. This is a group of students who, think about their high school years. None of them ever had like normal 4 years of high school. They were at home part of the time. So it's just, I think we're dealing with a different group of students than we were before. So I think it's a mixture, but financial and academic. Great question though. Very, very smart.
Yes, since Manchester is a church-affiliated university, what are some of the spiritual initiatives that are in your program?
Yeah, so we have a group of students who are really engaged in Simply Brethren, which is a student-led group. But our biggest group are Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Very big group of students in Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I hate this, and I've said lots of prayers about this. We do not have a campus pastor right now. I think some of you know that. It's something I really struggle with, because if you've heard my story, I believe God brought me back. And just the other day, I was thinking, God, are you trying to tell me something with this campus pastor thing? Our struggle is we would have the campus pastor, and they would hold services, and nobody was coming. So when the budget's tight, and you have a campus pastor and nobody's coming, it's really hard to continue that. So when that person left, we didn't rehire. And this was before my time. And it's been hard to bring them back. If anyone is the praying sort, pray for me about this, because I am really struggling with it. It feels like we should have a campus pastor at a church that's affiliated with the church. But how do we get students to engage with that? And I recognize it's a chicken or egg situation, right? If you don't have one, they can't come. If you do have one, we're going to have to build into it. But here's my prayer. If you're willing with me, pray, should we do this? And the second thing is, show me how I can pay for it. Help me find the dollars to pay for it. So it's really obvious for me that we need to do this, because I'm struggling with this personally. So if you're willing, pray for me on that, because I'm struggling with that. And thank you ahead of time.
What percentage of students at Manchester are Church of the Brethren?
Less than 2%. Yeah. I just spoke at the the conference for the Northern Indiana, and someone asked me there, I don't know if anyone was there or not, but someone asked me, and they said, well, how can we get more? And I think it really is, we have to build up the congregations to have youth in the congregations to feed Manchester. So that's where it really starts on that side.
So what are the larger religious groups that are at Manchester?
Catholic. I think 17 or 18% are Catholic. Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't get into Notre Dame.
Pardon?
They couldn't get into Notre Dame.
I prefer to think they love Manchester. Yeah, it's very interesting to me, that dynamic.
I've always been proud of the Peace Studies program at the university. Could you tell us a little bit more about how that's going?
Yeah, in fact, I just was talking to someone about it yesterday. I think this is the perfect time in our country's history to lift that up and shout out to the world that we have a Peace Studies program. I will admit, as an accounting major in 1996, or between 1992 and 1996, I'll admit, I wasn't super in favor of the Peace Studies program because we were kind of on different planes. But now, I believe more than ever, we need conflict resolution in our country. As far as I'm concerned, every major needs this, and we need to tell the world this is where you can come to get it. So what I would love to do is lift up a Peace Institute, shout from the rooftops that we have this program, even if it's people come in maybe from companies and get short-term credentials, right? Come in for a class or a couple classes, besides, of course, our major. But in my mind, we need conflict resolution and peace studies more than ever before in our country's history. And and I think we need to tell people peace studies is conflict resolution. We need to explain it that way so that people can understand it. But I was just talking to our academic vice president, Celia Cook Huffman, has a peace studies degree from Manchester. And I keep telling her we have to do more with our Peace Studies program. I mean, truly, I think we have 14 students in it right now. I think we could have 100. And it may be that they come in and out for these short-term credentials, but I think we could have so many more and really be on the map for this. We were the first one in the country. We should tell people. So yeah, absolutely. Just, it's so funny that you mentioned that because we just talked about it yesterday. What day is today? Tuesday? Yesterday. Yes, yesterday.
Did I see another hand? Stacy, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
And we will invite you again this time next year.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.